In the last week, I have acquired 3 sweaters quantities, so it seemed like a good time to reel things in and make some summer project plans. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Nitty Natty. If you are new here to project planning, you will know that I have experimented with a ton of different ways over the last few years. But whenever I plan projects, there are always 3 things that I include. 1, I'm always doing a brainstorming of my projects, usually right here in my notebook, because I really like to write it on pen and paper. 2, I take time to identify what's important to me. What do I actually want to make? What are my goals? And 3, I always like to create a realistic and flexible timeline for myself. Even though I want to get all of these projects done, at the end of the day, it is knitting and crochet and it should be fun. I have an entire playlist of project planning videos and just like pattern sharing videos. In fact, next week I am going to be doing a tank top video where I will share 10 of my favorite tank top patterns that I found while doing research for this video. Now this time I am planning for summer, which I am identifying as 3 long months, June, July, and August. I know that's not exactly the summer season, but that's what I have in mind when I am planning for this video. So grab your notebooks and let's get to project planning. I do have some goals for the entire year that I am keeping in mind even as I plan these next 3 months. So at the beginning of this year, I decided I want to be really intentional about the wardrobe pieces that I knit this year. I want them to be incorporated into my wardrobe and be things that I actually wear. So I have a video that I did on that earlier in the year where I picked basically one project per quarter, one project for every 3 months that I want to create and focus on. I didn't nail down the patterns for that, so as I'm going into the summer, I am looking into the patterns for this one. So I've got a lot of notes here. You're gonna see me looking over to my computer because I really do take a lot of time to plan this out and think about it. I'm not only thinking about it, I'm thinking about knitting like all of the time, but especially when I get to planning, because I just want to make sure that I'm spending my time knitting and crocheting, making things that I really, really want to wear. That's where I'm at right now, I feel like. So since I'm looking at June through August, this is actually going to encompass 2 of the times for my intentional wardrobe. So my first time was supposed to be from, let's see, March to May, and we're already past that. We're in June now. I wanted to make a t-shirt / a top of some kind. I just never really found the yarn for what I was looking for until this past week. So now I'm ready to do that. And then my plan for June to August was to make a sweatshirt. I want to get sort of ahead of the season, work on something for cold weather while in warmer weather, although as you can see, I'm wearing a hat and a sweatshirt right now because it's like 50 degrees here today in Wyoming. I have 2 things now for my brainstorming list. So I have the t-shirt and the hoodie that are for my intentional wardrobe. But brainstorming is where I really just like let my mind go kind of wild. I don't limit myself. I don't think, is this possible? Do I have time for this? Do I even want this yet? I just let my brain list out every single thing that I could possibly want and just take it from here onto paper, and it helps me analyze it a little bit better. So some other things that I want to do over these next few months is I want to work on my sock week socks. I have 5 different yarns from our 5 makers for sock week, and so I'd really like to work through all of them if possible. I also have my tank tops that I made last year that I don't wear anymore. I want to fix those, more on that later. And then I have my blanket of knowledge blanket that I am woefully behind on. I am working on February. We are now in June, so I'd really like to get that caught up if possible. That's what I have on the list for now. The more that I do this planning like for myself and even talking it through, like sharing it in these videos, I feel like I get better and better about having my initial brainstorming list be something that's actually sort of realistic, but it didn't really start there. I just feel like my brain gets better at knowing what I can handle every time that I do this. I still feel like this is too much though for 3 months. It's a lot of different projects and I'm probably definitely not going to get to all of them. So that's where we go to next, is picking out what's important and prioritizing. So I've got 5 big categories on my list: t-shirt, hoodie, sock week socks, tank tops, and blanket of knowledge. My next step is to get more detailed and actually give these a hierarchy of like what's most exciting for me at this moment, or maybe what's the most important for me to finish. It could be something that has a deadline or just a personal deadline for me. But first, we need to pick out some patterns. I have spent a lot of time poring over patterns and thinking about what yarn I want for these projects and even looking for yarn for these projects. And it's kind of all come together in the last week. I said at the beginning, I have acquired 3 sweaters quantities. 2 of them I have here in the car that I've purchased recently, and 1 is waiting for me in the mailbox in Tennessee at my parents' house. So let's start with those 3 projects because I have definitive plans for those. First is the Twisted Tee shirt by Brianna Lapino. Now, I talked about this one in my intentional wardrobe video. It was one of the pattern ideas that I had for my t-shirt category, but I hadn't picked out anything yet. Like, I wasn't definitive. And what really solidified it for me is the yarn that I'm going to get for this. And I can't show it to you yet, one, because it's not here with me, but also because the collection has not come out yet. It's coming from one of my good friends who is a yarn dyer, hint, hint, and I will be able to show it very soon. I think she's going to start sharing things before this video comes out, or maybe the day that it comes out. I think she's going to start sharing them June 4th, and this video will come out June 4th. So you should be looking around on Instagram. I'll be sharing it too. But anyway, there is a mini skein set that I'm really, really excited about. It's so beautiful. I'm not going to share any more because I'm not supposed to yet, but I'm planning to do this Twisted T-shirt, which is knit in 2 colors, where it has the body is one color and then all of the trimming, the neckline, the sleeves, and the bottom are a different color. But what I'm going to do is use my mini skein set for the main body. So I'm going to do these little teeny stripes. It's my idea right now. We'll see. I'll swatch it out and see how it works. But these little teeny, maybe like 2 or 3 row stripes with all the different colors, so it will repeat. And then I have another color that will be on the neck, the sleeves, and the bottom. I am so excited about this idea. I cannot stop thinking about it since I found out about this colorway or this collection last week. So this one I'm going to put a little star on. I know I'm not showing you my notebook right now, but literally put a little star on it because it is my highest priority in terms of desire to like cast this on the second I get the yarn. Next up is something I can actually show you because I just recently got this yarn. Let me dump it out. So I did a spring tops video where it was basically a bunch of t-shirts because, like I said, I spend a lot of time researching patterns and figuring out what's actually going to be right for me. And out of those 10 patterns, the one that stood out for me the most was the Color Tip Tee by Emily Curtis. It's very cute, but very basic. It's just like a short sleeve t-shirt with a little front pocket, and the trimmings are all different colors throughout. So since I did that video, I've been keeping an eye out at all the yarn stores that we've gone to for yarn for this. And I found the yarn last week at Farmer's Daughter Fibers. So Candace was taking us around the store, and there will be a store tour coming in like a month or so for that yarn store. But she introduced me to Sokapi, which is one of their more unique bases at Farmer's Daughter Fibers. It is a single ply, non-superwash Rambouillet, Montana and Wyoming Rambouillet. So you can see here, not plied, or can you see? There we go. Not plied, and I just think that's really, really cool. And I've been getting more into non-superwash yarns lately, more of the natural fibers, and I just thought this would look really, really neat. It would give it a different look because the designer did theirs in, I think it has like linen and alpaca or something in it. I don't know. It's also an interesting base. And I was like, I don't just want to do a superwash yarn for this one. I want it to be a little more special and a little more unique. So when I went to get this yarn, I was like, okay, I've got the base down. Now I need to pick out the colors. So I actually had Kent pick out just 5 colors that he thought were the most me, and he picked some really great colors. And then I did a neutral, I think more like a light gray for the main. And I went through so many different color combinations of this, and it just didn't feel like something that I was going to wear. Even though I love the colors, it just didn't feel right. And in the 11th hour, I went back to the wall, I started over, and I ended up with this color combination, which I feel like is much more neutral, and so therefore something I'm more likely to wear. So I have this color for the mane. It's like kind of a light tan color. What is it called here? It's called Nappy, N-A-P-I. And then I have these 3 colors for the trim. So you could do, like, I think there was 4 colors in the pattern, but I'm just gonna do 3. So I've got a really bright pink, basically a brown, and then the lightest pink that almost reads tan that will go with this. So very different from what I started with, but something I really love. This is Big Sky Sunset, which is so perfect for Montana. This one is called Lil Wapiti, and this one is called Dumplin', which I love that name. So color tip tee, I'm really excited to do this. I don't know if I'm like scratching to cast this one on, so I might not prioritize this right now, but sometime in the near future, I can't wait to make this. That takes care of my t-shirt category for now. I got 2 tops to choose from when we get to our final stage, which is to actually plan things out. So let's move on to the sweatshirts. When I first planned my intentional wardrobe, I had in mind a specific sweatshirt to replace the sweatshirt that I wear all the time. Actually, it's not this one. This is my sock week one. Really like this one. But there's another sweatshirt that's cropped and very loose and comfortable in a neutral color, but it is falling apart. So my original idea was to do this one. It is the Second Avenue sweatshirt by Brianna Lupino. Now, while I still really like this one, I am not going to make it yet because I actually fell in love with another sweatshirt pattern that I saw multiple times in different yarn stores, and every time I saw it, I was like, I have to make that. I want to make that so badly. I want to have it as part of my wardrobe, and that is the Traveler by Andrea Mowry. I've also heard it called the Traveler's Hoodie, which is probably what I will call it because that's what I've been calling it in my head for the last little while. So now it comes down to getting some yarn. And while I was at Farmer's Daughter Fibers in Montana, the yarn that Andrea actually uses is at their store. It's their yarn. And I was looking through it and I was like, well, I'm already buying this t-shirt yarn, so I will just wait a little longer until I buy another sweaters quantity. Plus, I wasn't really sure what color I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to go neutral or if I wanted to go for like a pink or something. So I thought, I'm not ready to make the decision yet. I know what base I want. I'll just wait. But then we went, not too many days later, we went to a fiber mill, Mountain Meadow Wool in Wyoming. And while I was at Farmer's Daughter Fiber, I found out that they have some of their yarn milled at this mill in Wyoming. And so when we got there, I was kind of looking for a similar base and found one that's very, very similar to the Farmer's Daughter Fiber one. And I thought, you know, it will be very cool. If I find a color I like, it'll be very cool to purchase yarn in the place where it is milled, like where the yarn was born, where it was made. It just couldn't be cooler than that. And I did find a color, so I am giddy to make this. So these are smaller skeins. They're a little over 50 grams, so I bought a ton because I need a ton. It's a long sleeve hoodie with a lot going on, you know, all that texture, but I think this is the perfect color. So this is Mountain Meadow Wool, and it is their Cody base, which is a 2-ply sport weight, 185 yards, and it's all grown in Wyoming. The interesting thing about this color is it's actually a natural, so it's not dyed. It is a light gray, which I believe, I may be wrong on this, but I believe it means they blend white and black maybe together, or just white and a gray. I can't remember. We also did a tour here, so you'll be seeing it soon, but it was really cool to learn about it. It feels so good. It's so squishy. And I think this is going to make the perfect sweatshirt that will be something that I won't have to wash as often as I have to wash something store-bought, because with a natural fiber, it just doesn't hold on to odors in the same way. I'm obviously still going to wash it every once in a while, but I mean, maybe every month or so. I feel like you just don't need to wash things that are made of wool that often. Tell me how often you wash your handmade garments, and maybe I'll change my mind on that. Probably not. So this hoodie, I also feel very much like I could cast it on right now if I would allow myself to. So I'm thinking this is going to be my second project after I do the twisted t-shirt, but of course we will get into that in the next stage. Let's talk about the tank tops, because planning is not just for casting on new projects, but also for finishing whips, or in this case, getting out projects that are finished and maybe adding improvements to them so that I can actually use and wear them. I mean, you can do whatever you want in your planning, but this is where my brain is going for this next part. So I have 2 tank tops that I made last year that I never wear. You got an itch? That I never wear because I cannot find the right bra to wear with them. So the first one is the mini mock neck tank by Jessie Made Designs. I finished this one, I want to say, I think I wrote it down, August 1st of last year. And I think I wore it maybe once or twice, but again, it's just not a practical everyday wear like I wanted it to be because of the bra situation. And I am not somebody who likes to wear strapless bras or uncomfortable bras or anything like that. So I did purchase some of those like foam cups that come in some bras, sports bras, or like swimsuits or things like that. And you can just buy them on Amazon. Like I got 6 of them. And my idea was to sew them into the top so that I could just put it on and it would be ready to wear. I'm fortunate in that I don't need a lot of support. I just need coverage. So I thought this may work, but I just never got around to it. The other tank top that I made is also Jessie Made Designs, and it is the Ripple camisole. I finished this one near the end of May of last year. Again, I didn't really wear it. I actually ordered a bra just to wear with it. Total waste of money, didn't work for me at all. And so at that point I was like, forget it, I'm just gonna try something different. So my idea is that I'm going to, instead of just sewing these cups directly into the camisoles, I do want them to be removable. So I'm thinking I might sew these little tiny snaps onto the inside of the tank and onto the cups. And that way I can snap them in on the inside and they can sort of have a little wiggle room to move around. And that way I can remove them to wash the cups. I feel like the cups will need to be washed more often than the tank tops because they're made of a wool nylon blend, but also I can just separate them, or also I can have just like one set. Like thinking of traveling in the van, I don't really want bulky things, so being able to fold up a tank top with nothing else being bulky around it is really great. Also a reason why I don't want to buy a bra just specifically for one top. Like that just doesn't, for me, that just doesn't make sense lifestyle wise or in general. So anyway, I will be attempting to make some adjustments to these. At my mom's house, she has a whole collection of snaps. So it's not going to cost me any money, just a little bit of time to try it out. And hopefully I can make it work where I can bring my tank tops along as we continue traveling after we visit my parents' house, and I will get to wear hand-knit items almost every day. Let's talk about the blanket. So this is the blanket of knowledge. I actually have been working on it this week. I'm so excited, but you can see it's not much of a blanket yet because I haven't gotten very far. So this is really cool. It's a fun subscription where you get a yarn every single month. I actually just picked up my other one here in Wyoming that got shipped here and was waiting for me to pick up. So really excited about that. But every month I keep getting more yarn and I'm not making any more progress on it. So I've just finally got myself where I'm taking off my current whips and just moving through them day after day. And then I get all of my like work. I don't like to call it knitting work, but I get all of my like things I wanted to get done for the day, however many rows done during the day while we're driving or out and about. And then at night, I reward myself by working on this really fun crochet blanket. But it is starting to bother me that I am so many months behind. So that's what I want to work on as far as the blanket goes, and I will plan it more in the next segment. Last thing here are my Sock Week socks. Again, I have 5 yarns, all amazing. I want to work with all of them, and I also want to show them off for those dyers so that, you know, that everyone's getting to see how beautifully they knit up, and they can still have time to get that yarn before it's gone since it's limited time. So I have to be realistic and know that I'm not going to, you know, maybe make all of them before Sock Week, but I'm going to do my best to get through as many as I can. I've already cast on one pair, so that's really good. But there's another one I want to start on here coming up very soon because we have two designers that are working on Sock Week designs. So the first one I'm going to start with is Shell Yeah by Leah Gibson, or Leah Loves to Knit. It's a really cute shorty sock pattern, striped, has little like a shell texture in it. So these are going to be quick and fun. I am going on vacation soon, and I feel like these will be a great vacation cast on. So I'm keeping that in mind as we go into the stage of planning here in just a few seconds. And, when strategically I want to cast that on before we start the trip so that I know I have everything I need, that it's not going to be a difficult knit while on vacation, and so on. There's also the Adventure Boot Socks by Maggie Fangman that are going to be coming out. So I think I have that one in mind to do after the Shell Yeah socks, one at a time. So that's a lot, but we are moving into our final stage, which is going to be planning everything out. I think this may be my favorite stage of planning, and I know this is not for everybody, but I just find that the more that I do this, the more that I take the time to just take a step back and look at my knitting and look at my projects and make plans for them, I get better and better about being realistic with my expectations. And what that means is that I feel like I have more freedom with my knitting. It takes less of a mental load for me to go, what am I working on next? And I produce more projects that I actually love and wear. And it also takes the emotional toll of having to rip something out. It puts that down a little bit. Like, okay, I still got to knit, I still got to have fun, but taking something out is actually serving me because now I don't have to begrudgingly work on a project anymore. This may not be right for you. You may want to just stop after the second stage of, brainstorming and then kind of figuring out what's your priorities, and just go, okay, well, this is my top priority, so I'm just going to start this. And when I'm halfway done or done with this one, I'll start on the next project. That may work for you. But for me, I really like to get a little more nitty gritty and plan things out. The most important thing is that these goals are just goals. They are flexible, they are there to motivate me, but I do not punish myself for not reaching knitting goals. I do not make myself stay up late. I work with what's working for me, and I have a good time with it. And if something is not making me happy in my projects, I really take a good look at why. Do I not like the colors? Do I not like the project? Am I feeling pressure from a deadline? And I really use this planning as a tool. Now, I have some parameters for myself. So the first is the time, right? I am planning for June, July, and August, so 3 months long, and I'm not planning super detailed for all 3 of these months. I'm gonna do a general plan for all 3 months with the projects that I currently have, or maybe I'll end up eliminating some. I don't know yet. And then I am going to look more detailed at June. Usually what I do is I sit down at the end/beginning of each month and I reassess everything. That allows me to, again, be flexible. I can tweak stuff. I can change my plans for what I'm currently feeling like I want to work on, what's currently working for my schedule. And I don't know, it just works for me in this way. My one other guideline for this time is something that I've been learning about myself recently. I mean, it's been happening for years. I think I've just been naturally doing it, but now that I know that about myself, I can actually plan for it. And that is that I work much better when I have only one WIP in each category. So not one project at a time in total. I don't know if I could ever do that, but just one blanket, one sock, one garment at a time, working until I'm finished with that one before starting the next one. This just seems to go so much better for me. So keeping that and my 3-month timeline in mind, let's get to planning. This obviously, or maybe not obviously, it took me more time than it's going to take to share it right now, but I really did go through in my notebook with my calendar and think through these things and plan these things. So right away, I'm not starting this plan on June 1st. It is already June 3rd right now, and I actually have projects to finish up before I can really start anything new. So I'm starting this plan on June 15th-ish. I think there's one project that I'm kind of working on already. So June 15th is really my starting marker. So now right away, I'm really looking at 2.5 months. Now, the reason I'm picking June 15th is because we are leaving for a vacation on June 19th. So we're going to be taking a break from the van. We're going to be flying somewhere, having a really great vacation and a break. And I want to have some special and fun projects ready for that. So I'm working to get through the whips that I currently have. And then June 15th is 4 days before we fly out. So I feel like that will be enough time for me to get started on these new projects, have them established, and then have them as really great, portable, easy knitting for my trip. So June 15th is my starting date. Okay, twisted t-shirt is number one for me because I am so excited to make that. The yarn is there, I'm ready. I just need to swatch and get casting on. Well, actually I need to finish the other sweater that I'm working on, but then I am starting this one. So this is what I have in mind for it. I actually looked back at past projects that I have been working on to see how long does it take me to complete a t-shirt, or in this case, I looked at my shrug that I'm making because it's not a full length top, but it's got full length sleeves. And it's gonna take me about 6 weeks is my estimation to make this tank. So starting on June 15th, 6 weeks is gonna be July 27th. And then I was like, well, let's just give it through the end of the month. So basically, I want to we'll start and then finish my twisted tee by July 31st. I feel like that's reasonable. I have 2 weeks to clear off the needles, swatch, and get cast on, and then 6 weeks to start working on it. And again, all of this is very loose. If I need longer, I need longer, and that's okay. But just in general, that's a pretty good estimate for how long this project is going to take me. Number two, because I'm so excited about my Traveler's hoodie, I've put that on the list next, and I don't want to start it before I finish my twisted tee. So that means that I can start my Traveler's hoodie on August 1st. I feel like that's great. I'm not going to plan out any further from there. I feel like this could be a really good Rhinebeck project where I try to finish it by Rhinebeck, because that will definitely be a challenge to finish it in 2.5 months. So that may be something I keep in mind, but of course I will plan that when I get there. Okay, I'm not going to plan for the color tip tee right now. I feel like 2 garments in the next 3 months to cast on is more than enough. If there's a situation that arises where things get finished faster, or maybe I'm like, forget it, I don't want to do this project anymore, let's cast on the color tip tee, I will. But for now, I'm just going to have it, kind of put a pause, snooze it for later, and I will get back to it soon. My socks. I have 1 pair of Sock Week socks already on the needles, so I'm kind of thinking that since today's June 3rd, I usually need 2 or so weeks to finish socks by just working on them casually. So I will try to finish those by June 15th, which would then allow me to cast on the Shell Yeah socks on June 16th before I go on my trip. So lots of backwards planning here of what projects I want to take on my trip, but I think that's going to work out beautifully. Last thing is my blanket of knowledge, and this is where we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how I actually plan a specific project. So if that interests you, I have lots of other videos where I go through this project by project, but let's talk about it with the blanket. So first, I wrote out how many months I have to work through. So I've got February, March, April, May, and now June, because we just got into June. So 5 months to finish, and then I'm caught up. So I thought, well, how long will that take me to complete? Maybe I could do 2 months in 1 month, 2 months of pattern in 1 month. How would that look? So then I wrote that out. Okay, I could do I could do March and February in June. Then I could do April and May and July. I could do June and July and August, and I could do August and September in September. So if I did 2 months per month, I would be caught up by September, which I know feels like a long way away, and wouldn't I be able to do that faster? But the realistic thing is probably not. Considering that I have only done a half of a month in 4 months, I think it's unfair of me to expect myself to go any faster than this. So that's where I kind of was landing until I remembered, hello, I'm going on a trip in the middle of June and I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. And I'm not planning to bring a bulky project that has multiple skeins and it's a blanket. Plus I don't want to bring too many projects. I'm probably just going to bring a couple things. So I have a couple options here. I could try to squeeze in 2 months worth of crochet into 2 weeks before I go on my trip. Or I could say, let's just start the two months per month, like the 2 pattern months per month in July. And let's just focus on getting February done in June. And that's what I've decided to do. So I just have like half of a month to complete here in June. I will then hit the ground running in July, and that's totally fine. And who knows, maybe I will get more done. I don't know yet, but I like to be more realistic, err on the side of caution, and then I can surprise and delight myself by finishing things early. Was that confusing or was that fun? Because I really have fun project planning. It just refreshes the inspiration for me, gets me excited to work on projects again, gets me excited like, oh, if I just get through 5 more inches of this sleeve, like I'm starting a new project, and there's just nothing that beats that new project feeling. Also, I am curious, what patterns do you have on your summer project list? Are you somebody who knits and crochets in the summer, or do you do less knitting or more knitting? I feel like I do about the same, but when I was a teacher, I definitely did more. All of the patterns that I talked about today, including any of the projects that I started, are linked down below, and make sure to stay tuned next week for my tank top pattern video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!